Hi everybody, and welcome to this edition of First Person, sponsored as always by the Precision Strip Company in Minster, Ohio. Great service to that community of Vaucluse County in Minster and New Bremen for all these years, and a great place to work. They always talk about it, we say it here. Great place to work. They're looking for good people, and they may be looking for you. The Precision Strip Company, proud sponsors of First Person every week here on PressProsMagazine.com. Just about a week from the kickoff of the 2019 football season. Tim Boeckman, our guest, our analyst for football here on Press Pros Magazine, four-time state champion coach of the St. Henry Redskins. I remember it well.
It was fun back then, and it's fun to follow now too.
Yeah, Tim, you know, we're here to talk a little bit about MAC football, and of course nobody knows it any better than you, and we get so many requests from around the state this time of year. Who's going to be tough in the MAC? What's that league look like? Tough as ever. It goes on and on and on. Anybody new this year? Someone asked the other day, is there a team to look out for this year? We want to talk about that a little bit, about what the makeup of the league looks like in 2019, starting with the school that you know pretty well right down the road here. We're in Coldwater today, but right down the road here at St. Henry. I know there's a youth movement coming in there. Everybody's pretty excited about that, the most of which is probably Brad Luthman.
You know, Brad's done a great job there at St. Henry, and this year his team, the way it looks right now, there's a small senior group, I think roughly 7 seniors on the team, and the makeup of the team is juniors, and he's going to start a lot of sophomores. And we all know when you're playing in the MAC, if you play a lot of sophomores, they got to grow up fast. And that's going to be a big key for Brad, because they opened up with Covington and Fort Laramie, and that's two schools that are very, very competitive. And you go into MAC play, so those kids have to get good real fast.
I know nobody better than you would like to see that program come back. They've been stuck on the 6-4, 7-3 mark. Last year, got 2 games deep, and I think, or 1 game deep in the playoff, lost to Coldwater. But that's a program when St. Henry and Coldwater and Marion, those teams are at their best. That makes this league very, very special.
Oh, there's no doubt. It's a special situation when they're back there. And like I said, Brad's done a great job. And these kids, the numbers are rising back up, and I really look for a year where they're just going to get better and better and better. Just hopefully they're good when the year starts.
Everybody wants to know about Marion Local. 10 state titles, 21 seasons under Tim Goodwin. Got beat last year in the Division 6 title game by Kirkland. Lost 18 of 22 starters. Tim said to me recently, we've never had that. He said, I think we can play some defense. I don't know if we can score against good people, but I'll bet you they come out with something.
You know, Sonny, there's a good chance. Tim's a real classic when it comes to getting these kids ready and so forth. He's probably telling them right now how bad they are.
Yeah.
But they're going to be very, very competitive. You got to realize a lot of these kids got a lot of playing time last year. You know, they had a very, very good football team. They got a chance to get in the game in the second half, and that means a lot. And they got a decent core coming back on defense. And defense can win a lot of games for you early. And once that offense develops, and they got some kids on offense that, again, seen some time last year, and they'll be very, very competitive.
Plus they got pride, and all you have to do for motivation, say nobody expects much out of you, and they're going to be there. They're going to be there.
Tim's a key of doing that.
We're sitting here in Chip Otten's house today at Coldwater, and again, here's a guy that said back in the spring, don't know what we're going to have, told me a couple weeks ago, hey, we look pretty good. Plus they got 70, 75 of them in uniform, but they got a returning senior quarterback, and they got a nice special player out there that can catch the ball and get downfield, and Noah Miller, their big tight end.
You know, he's got some skill people here. There's no doubt about that. In the one area in high school football, any level of football, he's got a heck of a kicker coming back.
Yeah.
And Mr. Dipple.
Yep.
And that's a great weapon to have, especially in high school football. If you can kick that ball deep, get good coverage, put it in the end zone, a lot of high school teams can't drive you.
And they've won some very special games here over the last 5 years with a field goal. And ask Marion Local.
Exactly.
Ask Marion Local. There's a team here that, you know, I mentioned before, who might surprise this year. And you've said to me ever since school was out, hey, don't turn your back on Fort Recovery. They were young last year. They got a dynamic quarterback coming back, well coached by Brent Niekamp. Tell us about Recovery.
I'll tell you, Brent's done a great job there. And what he's got, and they've had a lot of good young classes these last few years. And those last year, they played a lot of sophomores. They got a good year in. I think if I look back, looking over their schedule last year, they had 4 very, very close football games where they lost by a touchdown or less. To me, that team's a dark horse in this league. They have a great quarterback in Mr. Schmitz. So that's going to be a team to reckon with. And Brent's got them playing some really physical football too now.
Let's talk about another dark horse that I think is better than a 5-5 team this year, and that would be New Bremen. Chris Schmidt, their coach, has done a great job. Nolan Bornhorst back. Some numbers are back there. Competition for playing time.
There's another team that they've had a lot of good young classes coming up. And this group they have now, you mentioned Bornhorst. I believe Hayes, from what I'm hearing, Hayes may be playing quarterback this year. Bornhorst is going to the backfield. And those kids are starting to believe in themselves too right now. You know how important that is. And they had a good year last year, a solid year. I look for a lot of good things out of them. They're going to be very competitive.
Let's talk about the new kid on the block this year. They're so excited for Ryan Jones and the Versailles Tigers. It's been 13 years since they won their last title when Al Hetrick was there, I think back in 2003. Here's 2019, I guess that'd be 16 years. Do your math. But Ryan Jones there, and like you said, a big influence or influx of new skilled kids, big athletic kids. People are happy to see this in Versailles.
Yeah, they're excited at Versailles. Coach Jones, I haven't had a chance to personally meet him. I know you have.
Yep. But
great individual from what I understand. He has a great pedigree. He's done some college. He's been in high school, had success at Troy Christian. He's brought his dad with him. I knew his father when he coached at Wapakoneta. I think he's doing the defensive side of the football. I look for a lot of good things there in the situation. And Coach Miller left them in a good situation. They just couldn't quite get over the hump. And I think Coach Jones, with the young influx of talent they have, that's the team on the rise.
You talk about doing a lot with a little. I mean, he never had, and I'm talking about Ryan Jones at TC, the years he was at Troy Christian, averaged 23, 24, 25 kids, won 7, 8 games, you know, there right along. Didn't play in the NFC East exactly, but I mean, he had kids up in the bit ready to play on Friday night. I want to talk about a couple of schools that a lot of people think are the preemptive favorites this year, and that, first of all, is Minster. Big offensive line coming back, some skilled positions, a quarterback back in Jacob Niemeyer. That's important, the running game, but I think that dynamic head coach and the way he approaches the game in Garen Stokes, they're going to be an interesting team.
Yeah, there's something about Coach Stokes. He gets those guys ready to play all the time. Those kids come out with fire. And I always kind of use the phrase, they play with their hair on fire.
Well, the way he played.
Exactly. And he coaches that way too. He gets after him. And I think they have roughly about 7 positions back on offense, 7 positions back on defense. That's a great place to start. And they're going to be ready to play football. And they could be another one of those teams. A lot of people aren't talking about it. I think they could be right up there.
And the other team would be the Anna Rockets. They were the co-champions last year with Marion. They've had great talent there for years. I know Nick Marino's excited this year. He says, I don't want to get arrogant about it, but he says we got to come out with confidence and we have to play like we're a good football team. And I would expect them to. Riley Hulskamp, who I think is the best returning running back in the league, and another one of those quarterbacks that's a playmaker in Bart Bixler.
Exactly. Coach Marino's got a right to be excited. That team, if you had to pick a team, and I'm not big on picking teams ahead of time, but I would have to put Anna at the top of the league this year. There you got those players back. They've got some linemen to replace, but I'm sure with the success they had last year, they've tied Marion for the league title last year. You know, they've had some playoff experience over the years. They're playing with everybody. It'll be real interesting to see how they come out and play this year.
Interesting that you mentioned linemen, because Nick told me a month ago, he said, you know, oddly enough, maybe the 2 best players, the 2 best leaders we had last year were both defensive players, both linemen, both interior guys, and he said that'll be tough to replace.
Yeah. It's tough in high school. I always said when I coached high school football, I'll take linemen back every year. It seems like you can find those other people. Yeah. When you want to replace those linemen, they kind of go unnoticed, but that makes it very difficult.
Those guys that have seen the elephant.
Exactly.
Seen the elephant. For those of you who wanted to know what the MAC looks like, those are the teams that we're willing to. At this point of the season, anything can happen. You know, we haven't snapped the ball yet.
Well, there's no doubt. Injuries play a big part at schools this level. A lot of times you have a lot of depth. You got to keep those number ones on the field. The teams that can build a little depth over time, those are teams that are going to succeed in the end.
But one thing for sure, there's no league, no conference in the state of Ohio that has more intrigue to it year after year after year than the Midwest Athletic Conference.
There's no doubt. And a lot of veteran coaches here. There's 2 new coaches on board in the league in Parkway and in Versailles, so you got a little influx of that new type, and you got the old veterans, and it'll be fun again.
Tim, thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Great to watch this stuff. We'll look forward to talking with you week in and week out about football this year on Press Pros Magazine. That wraps up this edition of First Person, again sponsored by the Precision Strip Company in Minster. Great place to work, like we always talk about. They're looking for good people. They may be looking for you. For Tim and Precision Strip, we thank you for your support of what we do every week here on PressProsMagazine.com. Football in just a week. Our coverage will be as good as always. We hope to have you here with us. See you then on another edition of First Person.